Welcome back to the Neurospiritual Awakening podcast with Dr. Val. I am your host, and as always, it is my privilege and pleasure to introduce our next guest, who is actually the first guest to come back for a second time. So welcome back, Stashia Jeanette.
Hello.
Hi, so great to have you back. I kind of trolled back through the last time you were on. I believe that was episode 3 or 4, and we are now at episode 41. It's like
We've come a long way, a long way.
exactly, and yeah, I'm just really excited and how our relationship has evolved, and we get to do our other podcast and do this podcast and do it all the things. Yeah, I just find that relationships are such a vital part of my life, and we really do learn, well, I at least learn through relationships, good, bad, ugly, but it's always good when when you learn from good ones. So I was just
Yeah.
like, yay. Yay. So I'm excited about this conversation we're about to have. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, for the listeners, if you haven't seen episode number 4 with Stacia, you can go back and listen to it. But I'm going to have you introduce yourself again, just because that's what I do to my guests. So anything you want to say about you?
Stashia Jeanette, aka Ascension Oracle Vii. I do a lot of things. I try not to put myself in the one box category of things because I am frequently shifting and evolving and changing, much like all of us. But for the most part, I'm just very tied into all things spirituality just by just by birth of being initiated into the spiritual world with a lot of different spiritual gifts and abilities. So I just try to use my wisdom and knowledge and expertise of the abyss, of ascension, of awakening, of healing, of growth, of trauma, and fuse that with the spiritual abilities to help people become their highest selves and also help people make business decisions with those gifts and abilities as well. So, like, it's a hodgepodge of things, but that's what I do.
Excellent. And we love that. I mean, I love that. So hopefully the guests do too. And well, last time we spoke about your awakening process, so I don't think there's anything, as I said to the listeners, if you haven't listened to that one, just go back and listen to that. But this time, we're going to talk about near-death experiences because, as I've said in the last couple of episodes, I've come a little bit obsessed. Like, I've come a little, like at some point I was listening to people like on YouTube, near death experiences just to fall asleep every night. Like that was it was like a thing for me. I don't do that. I haven't done that like yesterday or the day
What?
before. Yeah, I was just really into it. I was like, what happens? And, I started kind of researching um, the similarities between people's experiences. I really got into it. So that's why I asked you. I was like, you should come back and talk about your near-death experiences because I'm so like into it, right? It's whatever. I'm not going to comment on the nature of that fascination, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So tell me. I mean, we can troll back to the first one, and then, or maybe no, the ones that you want to talk about or the most significant ones. Really up to
Yeah, I
you.
mean, you tell me like what are your most high-hitting questions? Like I'm good with if you ask me a specific thing, then I can pull from that experience and give you whatever. So whatever is the most pulling question on your mind right now, I can go there and try to dig through the treasure trove of experiences that I've had and give you that.
Sure. Okay, great. Okay, well, let me ask you this. For someone who is gifted spiritually, what is it like to, quote unquote, go to the other side? Is it like you thought it was? Is it like it is? Like, how is it? Because from what I've heard, from the experiences that I've listened to, people who have near-death experiences sometimes have no, like, no idea about quote unquote the other side. And then they get there and they're like, whoa, and then they come back and tell the world about it kind of thing. But what is it like for someone who's very well versed in,
in spiritual.
yeah, and
Yeah,
spiritual to
so
actually have near death experience? Yeah, yeah.
like for me, my situation, each one has been slightly different than the other depending upon like how traumatic or not traumatic it was. I mean, I feel like that's kind of like like a slightly dismissive. They were all kind of like not the greatest, obviously, but like some more than others. But like the recent one, um, the 2021 experience, I would say is the one that was like the most jarring for me, the most memorable for me, or I would say the most fascinating one for me, just because like I knew well into going into that one that I wasn't gonna leave that hospital the way that I arrived there, right? Like I wasn't gonna make it, and I think that one key part of the experience is remotely different than a lot of people's, just because of my abilities. Like I already knew that like my time in that life, I don't know how to explain it, my time in that timeline was expiring, right? And so I tell people frequently that you never fully die if your consciousness has reached a certain point to where it can just slip over to a different timeline, right? Like, because there's always a whole bunch of different timelines that are existing at one time. Like, there's everybody has multiple different timelines, which is what I'm always pulling on when we're doing our readings, right? I'm pulling the energy from the most potent timelines. But if your consciousness has evolved enough for you to be able to transfer over, like you never really fully witness your own death, right? You just transfer over to a different timeline where you're still alive and you still made it, right? So, but during this one particular incident, back in 2021, I had gotten like sepsis and I had C. diff, and that entire experience was incredibly painful. And that's the first one that I ever experienced that was painful, and like in between the process of me fighting for my life and dealing with this immense amount of like pain and the fever that I was dealing with, I would leave out of my physical body and be in the spiritual world. And for me, like I had more peace and solace in the spiritual world just because that's where I'm like most comfortable with, right? So my experience I think is a lot different than most people's, just because I just kind of, the whole birth story, I got intertwined into the spiritual world more so than, it wasn't a normal birth. Like I wasn't breathing for 7 minutes. So that whole thing really set me very familiarly with the spiritual realm. Um,
Mm.
but the time that I was in the hospital in this particular instance, I spent most of my time on the spiritual side, right? Out of body, removed out, and I could still see my physical body, right? Like just there in the hospital bed going through the things, but my spiritual self was able to go elsewhere, and wander about and not be going through the pain that the physical body was going through. And then there was a point in time to where I was just in the abyss, or what like I call it, like the holding room, right? Like it's just nothing. It's just quiet. Um,
Mm.
so I think that situation, the lumial space, it's like you're not where you're going, right? You're not back home. You're not like back into the conglomerate of God source universe energy, right? You're not like meshed back. And I haven't turned to light. You know what I'm saying? Right? Like you're not in the physical and you're not yet light. You're not, you're in the lumial space, the in between, right? So I just call it the holding space. It's very dark. It's very quiet. It's very much like when you go out onto, if you've ever been on a cruise, for those of you who've not been on a cruise, I'll try to explain it as best as possible. But like on the top deck of a ship, you go out in the middle of the nighttime, you're in the middle of the sea, is nothing but darkness. Like it's just dark. It's just dark. It's just the abyss. And for me, that's the most calming experience ever. It's so nice. Every time I go on a cruise, that's what I do at nighttime. I go out there and it's like the abyss. That's what that experience was like for me. Um, but then I would come back right into my physical body, and I could like feel my physical body going through the death process, which is, I mean, like quite literally, my physical body was breaking down, like going through the death process while I was in this sepsis phase. So it was like a really, I don't know, intriguing situation. I say fascinating, even though it, like I said, it was very painful, but just experiencing the two worlds simultaneously while I was going through that process was insane.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, you gave him like a really there's a couple of questions. I mean, thanks for sharing everything that you just have. And I know it may not be comfortable like coming back to that experience again. Um,
Ah,
but yeah, it's an experience, right? It is an experience
right.
that has been lived. There's a couple of things. There's a couple of things. I actually have interviewed a person, Jeanette Archer, who is a survivor of satanic ritual abuse, a couple of episodes ago, and she was mentioning this kind of um, thing as well, where, she would be subjected to horrendous things, but to not be present for the pain, she'd literally, because she's also spiritually gifted, she would just quote unquote escape into the spirit realm. So you
Hmm.
just reminded me of her sharing that. I guess
Yeah.
I'm just making it palpable for myself, um, or most relatable from what I know, from what I've heard.
Right.
And another thing, there's this movie called Everything, like all the things, everything, all at
Everything,
once, or
everywhere,
some.
all at once.
Yeah, so I just literally I've watched it recently. I don't know why, but
I've never seen it, but everybody always says they're like, "Yo, you should see this, and this is exactly like that." But I don't. What is
yeah,
that about?
it's the most, I mean, to me, it's the most visual, or maybe again relatable to the human brain or human understanding of our existence, of living in multiple timelines and all of them existing all at once. And if you die in one timeline, you jump to the one closest to it. So they actually show it, like they show it visually as a matrixy type thing, like as a multiverse. And there's some universes that are so far from the one that you're in that you're unlikely to jump to that universe from where you're at. You're likely to jump to the closest branch, so to speak, which may
Mm,
not deviate too much from your current timeline. But in that movie, they jump into some interesting, like, alternate universes when their life ends in the current one. They
right,
like
right, right.
at some point they jump to one where everybody has sausage fingers. I mean, it's out
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
out there.
yeah.
And then in another one, they're just rocks, like two rocks
Hmm.
sitting. There's no human life form. They're just rocks. So in that respect, I quite enjoyed it because it expands uh, our understanding of.
But it is like that for real. Like there was I did a mission one time where I had gone somewhere and it was like everything seemed like a normal village, but like these people were frequently being invaded by this other type of beings that they were like bananas. They looked like bananas. Right? Like I was completely sober, by the way. Like I know this sounds like some wild shit, but like there are it's like what you were explaining. There's different different realms where is this is this is what they got. They just are different life forms.
Yes. Oh, and it's like um the essence of the person was still the same. There's particular, I mean, there's a couple of main characters, right? There's like this woman who is the quote unquote main character and her daughter, and somehow their relationship like is different in all those timelines, but they're all connected. In one timeline, they're enemies. In another timeline, they're mother and daughter. And it's very interesting to witness. And in another timeline, there are two rocks, right? And it's like,
Right, right, right.
it's fucking interesting. Anyway, I found it, I was a bit like, oh, this is a really good visual representation of timeline jumping and alternate universes and the interconnectedness of it all,
Hmm.
irrespective of the vast differences.
Right. Yeah, because
Um,
it really is like that. Like I say that frequently to people, and like they think I'm just like shooting the shit whenever I'm saying like, oh no, like I've I've died a couple of times. And you know, when I meet people that I've not seen in forever and I legitimately have no memory of them, and they're like, why are you so you just acting like that because you don't because we, you know, we ended on bad terms or whatever. And I'm like, I legitimately don't remember you. I legitimately don't remember you. Is I I I I died on that timeline. You know, like I don't know. We never met on this timeline. I don't know you. I don't know you. Legitimately on this timeline, we've never met. And similarly, like there's been times where people that I've spoken to or conversations that I've had with people before, like on another timeline and another lifetime on a another timeline, these
yeah.
conversations would like come back up on this timeline and I'll be like, we did this before, right? It's almost like a, you know, like a deja vu, but a different form of it. But I've never spoken to these people this time in this timeline, but I remember the conversation that we're about to have.
Yeah. How interesting, fascinating. And again, I can't help myself by bring my mind to that movie because what we're talking about is very much what was portrayed. So let's get that on DVD before the whole world shuts off.
Right,
Yes.
right, right, right.
So we could just listen. We could just, I mean, not that you have to, but hey, if you guys are listening, you're like, what the fuck? Well, just watch that movie.
What the fuck?
Just watch that movie. Um, okay. I mean, there was another thing that I was going to ask, but then I forgot just because how the rabbit hole we went into with this timeline jumping. Oh, well, it's interesting to have the experience of because it, I mean, in reality or whatever you believe in, we're timeline jumping all the time, so to speak.
Hmm.
Like it happens very frequent that we don't necessarily are aware of it or to the extent that you are or have been when you died in a timeline and then jumped onto a new timeline where you're still um, alive.
Right.
Um, I'm just thinking not everybody has that awareness. I mean, I certainly don't for now. I
Right.
certainly don't. Like, I'm very conscious of when, again, I'm all about relationships. Like, when relationships become distant or have the experience that I don't really relate to or know that person anymore, in my mind, that's my experience of a timeline jump because it's just to me like they're just a passerby. Even
Hmm.
if we had a very, very close and sometimes intimate, like romantic, I'm just thinking about even like past lovers and stuff, like people that I have children with. Now I'm
Right.
just like, oh, like I
Mm.
don't really, I don't even know you, which is
Right.
like it's a weird thing to say, but that's the closest I can speak to the timeline jumping because we're obviously on different timelines. So it's almost, yeah, I don't really know them.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I think also like it should be mentioned that I don't think anybody it's not even I don't think nobody will ever experience their actual death, right? Like you'll never as the person going through it, like you will never experience your actual death. Like even if you were to just if your consciousness did not shift to another timeline, like you just you know, but even if your time your even if your consciousness did shift to a different timeline, you wouldn't you wouldn't know like, oh, like you wouldn't have remembered the process of like you dying is what I'm trying to say. You wouldn't first-handly have experienced it. Like again, the closest that I got this last time of experience it, like I knew. And similarly, every single time that I was about to die on a timeline, I've always known. And I think it's just because of my, again, like I came in very closely tied to death. So like I
Yeah.
just know like death and rebirth is just very at is like a fluent language in my life at this point, you know, because something traumatic happened to me for every year for like 17 years. So it just has I've always known, but the sepsis one was the closest that I've literally come to watching, you know what I mean, my physical body dying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And what you described with the abyss space or the liminal space, some of those NDEs that I've listened to, they describe that space as well. Some people call it like the black velvet room. I'm
Sounds
like,
like
is
a
it,
BDSD. Like what? The
I'm,
what?
yeah, I'm like, oh, is it fuzzy in there? But yeah, the holding room. And then some people see passed over loved ones and have the life review thing where they get to experience everything they've quote unquote done to other people as the other person. Um, and then there's this one woman who was like in a car accident and was deciding with her guides what injuries she would have when she comes back to the 3D plane. And I was like, wow, that sounds like a interesting game. Um,
Right.
but yeah, and then people talking about the eternal bliss, like the what I believe you referred to as light, when you actually do come back to source, and then this experience of, oh, well, this 3D life was just a dream, and then that's the
Hmm.
actual real deal existence and the experience of that. And most people never want to come back, but they end up coming back because for whatever, mission or
Reason.
reason.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to speak to that. Again, I'm orienting myself in what I've examined or listened to.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm just really, really curious because I don't know, I'm always curious about this kind of stuff.
It's a fascinating process. It's a fascinating process.
It really is. Oh, and this is what I was going to ask you. It seems to me, oh, and also it's really beyond the scope of our human understanding. And I know I'm very much aware of my addiction to knowing, and I just want to know it all, right? And I'm also aware of the capacity that my brain cannot actually understand the complexity of certain things that we're attempting to talk about. That's okay though.
Right.
You know, I do with what I have. Um, uh, but aside from that, I was gonna ask, do you think then there's no real reincarnation? Like we only perceive it as past lives because time occurs in a linear fashion for the human brain, and it's actually is just multiple timelines that we enlive as alternate species, sometimes beings, like that.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very probable theory. You know, I don't think any of us have like the solid answer, and like anybody that says that they do have like, oh, this is factually what it is, like it's unknowable. It is an unknowable thing, but like I feel like that's a highly probable theory because again, you know, just for me, what I do is I read timelines. Like, you know what I mean? That's my I feel the threads of energy attached to multiple timelines. I can get glimpses of different timelines, and I pull from the closest, most strongest timelines of and their threads of energies attached to it. So, like, I can vouch for the fact that I know that there's multiple timelines that are happening constantly around us all the time, and each one of those are vastly different, you know, from one another. So of course, you know, and not only that, like I think I was telling somebody, I forgot who it was, but I was telling somebody the other day that in this one lifetime of my 33 years of life, this time, like I have lived multiple lifetimes in this one 33-year lifetime. right? And like that in itself could be interpreted as like, oh, my past life, but like what past life were we talking about? You know, like were we talking about the one that happened in 2021 or like what past, do you know what I mean? Every year could be
Yeah.
seen as a past life.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can even say that the last time we interviewed, we were on a different timelines, like most definitely. Well, I
Right,
don't
exactly. You could have
like,
been talking to a different version of me then. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and vice versa. I mean, you were definitely talking to a different version of me. I don't know how long ago that was, probably a year and a half, but
same. Right,
wow,
yeah.
wow,
R-
like shit's happened since then.
Right,
Your
right.
your girl has transformed a couple
Yes,
times.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh,
I think that's
interesting.
like
Hmm.
that's the worst. That's I think that's the that should be people's biggest fears is to be able to like look back on, you know, it's easy for us because we, you know, we do the podcast thing and we could easily just look back at like a year ago or what have you. But you know, for people to look back and be like, well, shit, like I didn't change at all. Like, oh, that sucks. Like you just stayed the same. Like, damn, that sucks. You should always be constantly changing and growing and evolving. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it does in a way. I don't know if it sucks or not. To me, that's just boring.
Right. Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing? Like you're just staying
What
the
is
same.
this? What is this?
Uh,
Yeah.
Again, it's you know, we I like to judge, so I like to make observations, okay? As a scientist.
Scientific observation.
Exactly. And linked with a judgment. So
It's the
yeah.
Virgo.
I know. It's all right though. Okay, next question. I'm just like so many popped into my head, but they've all slipped, so let me just find one. Yeah, let me just find one in there in the realm of my mind. Okay. Oh. So, well, how do you speed up? Like, okay. So being a person who reads I mean, a person, that's even questionable. Being a being.
Val said that's questionable, Stacia. That's questionable.
Being someone who
Yeah.
reads into different timelines and you have that gift. This is what you talk about. You talk about we're always going to get from point A to point B, but getting there may involve multiple different timelines or experiences. I mean, that's my understanding with what you've said before. If it's wrong,
hmm
totally
hmm
correct me. But it is my understanding that there's always free will of like what we
Yep.
want to do, da da da. But then there's like this main mission. Uh,
Correct.
maybe for this lifetime, maybe for all of the lifetimes. I have no fucking idea, to be honest with you. I'm not an expert in that field. Um,
Yeah, like a core soul mission.
yeah. So would you say that the alternate like realities or pathways to get to from point A to point B? I'm just gonna say it that way. Very linear, but nonetheless. Uh, would you say that there's convergence of timelines at that point? Like, or how does that work? Or do they just branch out and I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I speaking for me personally, like it's always been branched out. Like I mean, I've nothing that I've gone through has been on like one solid route at all ever whatsoever,
Hmm.
and it's always been like okay, so like you started off with one door, you went through the one door led you to two staircases, and you had to choose the left staircase or the right staircase, and then you went through one or the other. Say we went through the right staircase led us to three different tunnels, right? And then the three different tunnels, you chose right, left, or middle. Say we went to the middle one then takes you into five different elevators. You chose one through five of these elevators, and it brings you up to this platform of 15 different platforms for you to hop onto, each one moving in a different direction, right? And these are all the things that I'm explaining to you are timelines, right? This is what I mean. But each one of these is constantly it's leading me down now to like another path that I have to explain of this thing where the universe does this mental trick into like making you think that you have free will in your decisions, right? There's this the now here we're in the theory of do we have free will or not? Because your ultimate destination is going to be your destined destination regardless of which one of those options you chose. But you had the free will to choose either you went left or right to begin with, and then you chose those other different the elevators, the staircase, the platforms. You're choosing and you're going to have different experiences and meet different people along the way, but they're all people that you were destined to meet regardless. And these are all experiences you had to go through and learn regardless. You know, you may just have more resistance or more lessons or more challenges, but regardless, you're still going to get there at the destined time and the destined location or spot, or end up doing what it is that you're supposed to be doing or with the people that you're supposed to be with, what have you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it is what I was alluding to as well when I said you always get from point A to point B. So
Yeah, exactly.
again,
Yeah.
as I said, it was a very simplistic,
Version. Yeah.
well, dry version of of everything that you just said. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, that's again the Virgo, right? I'm like, oh, that's quite comforting that there's some sense of certainty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
There's some
But
sort
then
of plan. Yay.
there's some sort of yeah, but then like people get mad or they're like, I'm in charge of my life and I'm in charge of my destiny. But it's like, are you? You know, God source universe. I as a Virgo, you know, like we love organization, we love a good plan, we love a structure, we love to have what are we doing? What's the plan? What's the mission? Let me get this done. We love efficiency, right? And when things don't go according to plan, like it is the ultimate or irksome, the ultimate thorn in the side. But I learned very early on from getting my ass whooped by God's Source Universe over what was told to me that I was trying to micromanage the universe, and you don't do that. You know, you don't you don't try to micromanage the universe. You don't try to like control the where the wind and the sails are going to take you, you know, because what's going to happen in that point is God's Source Universe is going to send a tidal wave and a typhoon and just flip your shit because what are you doing? Like, I'm the king of this castle here. Like here, you don't try to tell me which way I'm gonna blow these winds. Like you're gonna go where you're meant to go. That's why there ain't no steering wheel on here. This is a this is a sailboat.
This is a spaceship that drives itself. So
Right.
it's good.
Right.
Yeah.
The
That's yeah.
coordinates have been put in by itself. You don't tell me how to get to where we're taking you, and you just better strap in and deal with it. You may not like the ride. Close your eyes then. We're going.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's same. I mean, yeah, I can only second that. The tower moments have been quite quite harsh. But that's
Yeah.
okay.
The
That's okay.
the lesson of having to surrender has been ultimate because, you know, like when you controlling and think that you have the ability to control your destiny in your life, like again, having immense sheer willpower and a strong soul fortitude, strong spiritual willpower is something that is absolutely necessary, like on this path of ascension, of healing, of growing, of evolution. But the desire to try and control things and bend things to your will, there's this quote from Poimandres. If you don't know about Poimandres, look it up. That's a rabbit hole for you. But essentially, it said the punishment for desire is the agony of unfulfillment, and it's absolutely this. And it's like when you're trying to when you're trying to strong arm and you have a strong desire for trying to make things go your way, or you're trying to to control things, ultimately you get burned.
Yeah. Yes. Well said, and definitely have experienced that one. And let's just move on to a different topic. Let's just move on to a different topic. Can we talk about something else, please?
I don't want to. I don't want to talk about it. I don't.
That's good. That's good. But let's talk about another one, right? I'm literally curious to know, is there anyone that what I'm saying is, let's talk about another near-death experience, at least one more, where maybe did it like completely blow your mind as to what the nature of maybe this reality or what you thought is real, what's not. Anything like that. Again, there might not be, but anything close to that where, I don't know, you might have met some beings, although I don't think you'd be phased. You were just talking about being banana beings, but like any anything like that, like that's really could be maybe, I don't know, interesting for the listeners to also be like, oh wow, that shit exists. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, so essentially, it's not just a one thing. Every single one, I would say that every single near-death experience that I've had to date has revealed something to me, like a bit of wisdom, a bit of knowledge about the world at large, about things going on. And so like a few of the nuggets that I have discovered is that like the oceans are portals, right? Like to different dimensions and realms, and just bodies of water, like in general, but the ocean being the main one. There have been times where, again, like in the lumial space, like it was in the sea, like, and then I had came out somewhere else. Hey, did you see the Stranger Things? Did you see Stranger Things?
A little bit at the start, yeah. But again, it's so very, yeah. Listen, the answer to that is yes. I think the
Did,
first or second season, yeah.
you know they're talking about like the upside down? This was like kind of, all right, like it was kind of like that, but not. But it just was like you could tell that it was an alternate version of here, right?
Yes,
Everything was different, but like
yeah.
I got to it through the water. And same way with any other dimensions that I've gone through, it's always been through water, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And also my biggest realization of like, oh wow, we've really been lied to here. This was a long time ago, but this was my first like earth-shattering moment, was when I realized that there was no like white man in a robe that was going to come and talk to me about like life, when something, you know what I mean? Like, but it was because that's where I was at the time. I was like 16, 17 years old, and had to be resuscitated. And so like the the thing that I was thinking then was that like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna have this judgment day situation, and like God with some beard is gonna come down and talk to me like in some marble chair, or some white room in some marble chair, and tell me like, well, can you tell me why you did this, and on the year of this and on this date and this, that, and the third, and like that didn't happen, and I was genuinely shocked and confused, like, what is what is this? And it just was the this that I'm saying is, it's this like this holding room of like lumial space and peace. So that was the biggest thing, was like I realized that like, oh shit, that doesn't happen. That is not what is happening in this life when you are going through a situation of like life and death, or you're not really alive, but you're not dead. Nobody came to, there was no light. There wasn't like a ring light that came towards me and was like, come towards me. That didn't happen. There was no, I also, the world didn't split below me, and there was no like eternal fire that came out and burnt my ass up. That didn't happen either. But like I said, that was a record breaking moment for me was when I realized there was no these things, the aforementioned things that I thought was going to happen,
Yeah.
that didn't happen. But I came back each time like a Super Saiyan with some more spiritual gifts and abilities and more intertwined into the spiritual world. Like I said, I was 16 during that first really big one where I went through the ocean and things were wonky, strange, but when I came back, that's when a lot of my spiritual gifts that I have now like started to crop up, but it just every single time something else changed and was different. Um, Also, I was told a long time ago, while I think I was still in high school, and trigger warning because I don't want people to be, but if you're sensitive to any kind of like self-harm situation, like this is probably not your time for you, but I'm mentioning it because it's relevant. So I was going through a whole bunch of shit and like I was really really down, like down, and I was like, oh, like I'm not gonna be able to continue doing this. And I was told at the time that should I try and leave, like via taking my own life route, that I would have to come back at this exact same point with the exact same amount of stress and trauma and pain and suffering that I was going through at that exact same time that made me want to end my life and pick back up then. So like essentially it was like God source universe was like, look, man, you can leave if you want, but you can come right back here and do it all over again to this point. So you can either just tough it out and get through it or start start back from the beginning, and that kind of scared my ass straight because I was like, well, I'm not doing that. I done already came this far. I'm not trying
Yeah.
to do double work, you know what I'm saying? I'm not
Yeah.
trying to. So I learned that. I learned that that route does not get you a ticket out of here in no way, shape, or form. So um, somebody asked me about that on Threads the other day. Like, what happens if you try to do that? And that's what
Hmm.
happens.
Hmm. Yeah. I don't, it's good to know.
Yep.
It's good to know. Would that
Yep.
that's ultimately what happens. You can't really
Mm,
um
isn't yep.
there's no way out. Not in that
Right.
way. And not in
Not
that way.
not not like that. Not like that. You gonna come on back to the same spot, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Thanks for sharing that again. I think my listeners are pretty this podcast ain't for the faint-hearted and just I don't know because that's my north node is in my eighth house, so I'm
Yeah. 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 Right. Right.
it's just the nature of the podcast. What will what can you do?
Right.
Um so I'm sure that people will be all over this. And okay. There was other, when you were talking about oceans as portals, I mean, it's very beautiful, but it kind of brought my mind also to the underground military bases that are in the Bermuda Triangle and all these underwater bases. And then you talked about Stranger Things, and we know that that's a representation of MK Ultra and like
Mhm.
satanic ritual abuse and all this horrific kind of stuff. I was just thinking, well, no wonder some of those bases are deep in the ocean because the ocean is a portal to other
Mhm.
reality.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So that just linked it up for me. So thanks. Yeah. And also, I'm a Cancer rising. I'm all about water. So no wonder. No wonder. Although I had this astrology reading, and the astrologer said that even though I'm a Cancer sun, not rising. I'm a fucking Virgo rising. What am I talking about? Um, that the predominant vibe is actually Piscean vibe, Pisces. So anyway, wherever you go, there you are. It's all water anyway.
you know.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay, cool. Well, listen, before I let you go, is there any other I think we've explored enough and filled the listener's brain with enough food for thought. But yeah, any last, I don't know, things that you want to say, or I know it's not a question and you like to answer questions, or that's what works for you, but I really have no more questions other than, is there anything else you want to say?
No, nah, it's just try your best to always continue evolving and growing so that you can continue experiencing. That's why I say like some of us and a lot of us, all of us have the potential to be eternal beings, if you continue to evolve and grow enough. So you can always just pop on over to different timelines and experience different realities and versions of life, always keep striving to become the next highest version of yourself so you can continue onward. That's all I got.
All right. Beautiful. Well, let's end it there. And thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing yourself. And to the listeners, thanks for listening. I'll pop all your details in the show notes below. And as always, you can find us in the whatever I write down below this video. So
And the things.
in the things. So thank you. And until we see each other again.
Toodaloo.